Ayodhya Kand, chapter 75, Bharatha is explaining the sin of sending Rama into exile. We have already covered the first 15 symptoms, and the 16th symptom is mentioned in verse 32. Vishvasat katitam kinchit parivadam mitha kvachit vivarnotu sa dushtatma yasya aryo anumate gata. The person who conspired to send Rama into exile will receive the sin of the wretch who divulges the words of abuse secretly confided in him by his friends. Now Bharata moves to a different topic, and that is speech. In Bhagavad Gita 17:15, Lord Krishna mentions the austerity of speech. Anudvega karam vakyam satyam priya hitam chayat swadhyaya abhyasanam chaiva vanmayam tapa uchyate. Austerity of speech consists in speaking words that are truthful, pleasing, beneficial, and not agitating to others, and also in regularly reciting Vedic literature. And the gist is that one should not speak in such a way as to agitate the mind of others. Now let us consider this scenario. Person A has mildly irritated person B. Person B and C are good friends, and therefore B confides in C everything that A did to him. Now C goes ahead and speaks to a whole bunch of people and says that A did this to B. Sure, A might incur some sin for irritating person B, but person C incurs a lot of sin for breaking the trust that B placed on him. Moreover, the words of C would have been agitating to A and B, and perhaps even to the listeners. Therefore, person C did not practice austerity of speech, and hence he is incorrect. So Bharata is basically saying that the person who conspired to send Rama into exile incurs the same sin as a person who cannot practice austerity of speech. Symptoms 17, 18, 19, and 20 are mentioned in verse 33. Akarta hya kritaknascha tyaktatma nirapatrapa loke bhavatu vidveshyo yasya aryo anumate gata. The person who sent my brother into exile will incur the same sin as a non-doer, an ungrateful person, a shameless person, and one who has committed the sin of suicide. So these are the 4 different symptoms. The 17th symptom is that of an akarta. Akarta means a person who does not do things. So what should the person do? The person should perform sacrifices. The person should perform actions. In Bhagavad Gita 4:18, we have this verse, Karmani akarma yah pasyed akarmani cha karmaya sa buddhiman manusyeshu sa yukta kritsna karma krit. One who sees inaction in action and action in inaction is intelligent among men, and he is in the transcendental position, although engaged in all sorts of activities. Now, Bharata is talking about the exact opposite of what is mentioned over here. A person acting in Krishna consciousness is naturally free from the bonds of karma. So basically, karma is action. But when we do karma yoga, we are directly connected to the Lord. Yoga is the yoke that connects us to the Lord. And karma yoga is good. Karma is not good. And Bharata is saying that a person who does not want to do anything, he does not contribute to the society, he doesn't do anything except think about himself. Therefore, he is an akarta, the one who does not do anything, or he is a non-doer. So this person does not help anyone in need. This person does not understand the meaning of karma yoga, and he is incapable of seeing action in inaction and inaction in action. Therefore, Bharata calls him a sinner and says that the person who conspired to put his brother in exile receives the same sin as a person who is not a useful member of the society, who is an akarta. The next symptom, that is symptom 18, is that of an akritaknya. Kritaknya means a grateful person, and akritaknya means a person who is not grateful. In Kishkinda-kand, Lakshmana chides Sugriva for not rallying up the forces and meeting Rama at the end of 4 months. Lakshmana tells him that there is some method of expiation mentioned for even the greatest of sins, but there is no expiation mentioned for an ungrateful person. Obviously, the way you get rid of that sin is to show gratitude, but this statement of Lakshmana from Kishkinda-kand is enough proof that gratitude is exceptionally necessary. And Lord Rama and Sita also show gratitude to their subjects, to their devotees, so that people can understand the importance of gratitude. The Rama Alingana, the embrace that Rama gives to Hanuman, is a sure indication of his gratitude towards his devotee. The way Mother Sita is grateful to Hanuman for bringing her the news of Rama's victory is very beautiful indeed. When Sugriva and Ravana have a duel and Rama meets Sugriva again, we get to see the gratitude that Rama has for his devotees. And of course, Valmiki Ramayana is sprinkled with multiple examples. And the Supreme Lord does that to show how people are supposed to behave. So, keeping all these things in mind, we understand that an ungrateful person is extremely, extremely sinful. Therefore, Bharata says that the person who sent his brother into exile has the same sin as the person who does not bestow gratitude towards the people who helped him. The next symptom, that is symptom 19, is nirapatrapa. That means a person who is shameless. In Srimad Bhagavatam, Daksha chastises Lord Shiva by calling him a nirapatrapa, or a shameless person, because of which he does not know how to act. This is Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 2, Verse 10. Of course, Daksha is trying to criticize Lord Shiva, who is one of the kindest people and who is very easily satisfied. That's why he's called Ashutosha. But the consequence of a shameless person is that he does not know how to act. He is incapable of acting properly. There is also another meaning to shameless. A person who feels remorse for a sin that he has committed feels a little bit of shame at least. And if the person is completely shameless, that means that he feels no remorse, or he feels that he has done everything absolutely correct. And that is a huge mistake. Therefore, Bharata says that the person who conspired to send his brother into exile incurs the same sin as a person who does not know how to act and who feels no remorse. In fact, the person is shameless. The next symptom is symptom 20, Tyaktatma. It also means to give up oneself, or basically commit suicide. The Shastras condemn the act of suicide because after that, the gross material body definitely goes away, but the subtle body still remains, and therefore they come back as ghosts or goblins or someone like that. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, Anti Leela 460, there is this very beautiful verse. Deha tyagadi tamo dharma pataka karana sadhaka na paya tate krishnera charana. Measures like suicide are causes for sin. A devotee never achieves the shelter at Krishna's lotus feet by such actions. So what is the greatest sin? Not the fact that the person becomes ghost or something like that, but the fact that that person can never take the shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. That is the greatest misfortune that a person can ever receive. Therefore, Bharata says that the person who sent Rama into exile is extremely unfortunate. Therefore, Bharata calls the person who sent his brother into exile as an unfortunate person. He says, Loke bhavatu vidveshyo. That means that person has become universally despised. The whole world hates that person who sent Rama into exile. And this is completely true. Everyone became against Kaikeyi. Her own son became against Kaikeyi. Her husband abandoned her. Her co-wives were afraid of her. The citizens of Ayodhya were very angry with her. Of course, it is all due to their excessive love for Lord Rama, but nevertheless, Kaikeyi was universally reviled. But she had one person in her corner even then, and that is Lord Rama. The next symptom, 21, is mentioned in verse 34. Putre dhare cha vritte cha svagrihe parivarita sa eko mrishtam ashnatu yasya aryo anumate gata. May he who counseled my brother's exile incur the sin of the selfish wretch who fills his stomach with good cheer without a thought of his wife, children, and servants who stand by. The son, the wife, and the servants of a house are dependent on the master of the house. Therefore, it is a responsibility of the person who has dependents to take care of them. In the 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 14th chapter, sage Narada describes the duties of a householder to King Yudhishthira. And in the 11th verse, it is mentioned that dogs, fallen persons, and untouchables, including Chandalas, should all be maintained with their proper necessities, which should be contributed by the householders. That means that the householders have a responsibility to maintain all of the dependents. The 8th verse says that one may claim proprietorship to as much wealth as required to maintain the body and soul together, but one who desires proprietorship over more than that must be considered a thief, and he deserves to be punished by the laws of nature. So now let us take these two verses together and try to understand what Bharata is saying. So, it is evident that according to the rules of Grihasthashrama, the Grihastha has to maintain his dependents. And if he accepts something more than what is necessary, he is just a thief and deserves to be punished by the laws of nature. Now, Bharata is saying that it's sinful for a person to eat delicious food while he's surrounded by his wife and children and servants and not offering them anything. And that is not okay. He cannot be well fed while his dependents go hungry. That is not correct. So he is like a thief. He has not followed the Varnashrama Dharma properly. He's not following the Grihasthashrama rules and etiquette, and therefore he is a sinner. Bharata says that the person who conspired to send his brother into exile has committed the sin of the person who has forgotten his duties according to the Varnashrama Dharma. Symptom 22 is mentioned in verse 35. Aprapya sadrishan dharan anapatyah pramiyatam anavapya kriyam dharmyam yasya aryo anumate gata. May he with whose counsel my elder brother departed on exile die without a child, failing to secure a suitable wife, and thus not fulfilling his religious duties. Now let's take this one phrase at a time. It is the duty of a faithful and chaste wife to help her husband in every respect, especially when the husband is engaged in devotional service. This is the meaning of a good wife. From Mother Sita's conduct, we get to know that a good wife protects the dharma of her husband as well. And without such a faithful wife, the husband can fall down in his religious practices also. A civilized person, that is a person in Varnashrama, does not have a child without a good wife. And therefore the protection of children gives the human form of life its best chance to prepare the way of liberty from material bondage. This is given in the purport of Srimad Bhagavatam, 1st Canto, 8th chapter, verse 5. Rama says in the later chapters of Ayodhya that a putra or a son is the person who redeems his father from put or hell. At the end of Yuddha-kand, when Dashratha appears in front of Lord Ram, he says that Rama redeemed him just as how Ashtavakra redeemed his father Kahola. So a son is capable of redeeming his own father. Therefore, being anapalya or issueless or without children is a very sad circumstance. Obviously, pure devotees don't care about moksha or anything of that sort. All they care about is serving the Lord. They don't care where they do it. As long as they get to serve the Lord, they are happy. Here, Bharata is talking from the ordinary standpoint. Even in an ordinary standpoint, a person who does not have a faithful wife or who does not have good children will not be able to perform proper religious duties because he will be too encumbered by his family life that he has no time to perform his religious duties. That is why it is mentioned that a good wife is the one who aids her husband in the practice of devotional service. Anybody who impedes devotional service is not a friend, he is an enemy. And anybody who helps you in devotional service is your friend, even though he might be under the disguise of an enemy. So this is how we are supposed to perceive people. And Bharata is talking about the ordinary platform wherein every single person has to learn to be a good devotee of the Lord. It's not the people who are already good devotees, but people who are trying to be, who are aspiring to be good devotees of the Lord. And for them, if they don't have a conducive environment wherein they get the support from the family life to help them in their devotional service, it is going to be very terrible indeed. Let's say a very pious person gets married, and then he understands that his wife is extremely materialistic, and she has trained her children also in the same way. Now, this very pious person has to worry about money and accommodations and circumstances just to make sure that his materialistic wife is temporarily happy with some comforts, as opposed to being permanently happy by serving the lotus feet of Lord Rama and Mother Sita. And this is why Bharata says that a person who fails to obtain a wife that is suitable for him and is not able to fulfill religious duties has done something terrible, because of which he has landed up with such a great sin. And he says that the person who conspired to send his brother into exile is indeed an unfortunate, miserable person, such as the person whose family life is not conducive for his devotional service.